UFC 308's main event headliner between Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway. Guys, I've been talking nonstop on my channel about how excited I am for this matchup. I know a lot of us in the community and fight fans are just drooling in anticipation for this fight. We have been for months. And guys, I've been saying, look, this fight is what John Jones is to Dana White. Like, everywhere I go, I'm talking about this fight, man. Like, I am so locked into this fight. I've been watching a ton of film and doing all these different things. If you guys want to see my full card predictions and breakdowns for UFC 308, I will go ahead and link that down below. But I wanted to make its own dedicated video for the main event between these two because, guys, we're looking at, in my opinion, not just one of the best stylistic matchups of the year, one of the best title fights of the year, but really of all time. I mean, when you put Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway in the octagon together, I mean, two very unique styles. They get things done very differently, and the way that they are going to clash, I just can't wait to see it. So what I want to do is I'm going to put the biases to the side because I just want to state first, I'm a massive fan of both guys. Max Holloway is one of my favorite fighters of all time. I feel like it's impossible to not be a Holloway fan. I feel like if you're openly a Holloway fan, great. And then if you're not openly a Holloway fan, you secretly root for the guy, right? It's hard to not like Max Holloway, but he's going in there against, I believe this is his hardest fight. I believe that, I know Volkanovski is unbelievable. He's one of the best featherweights of all time, but styles make fights. And when you look at Ilia Topuria, he just seems like what I would build to take out Max Holloway is a guy that fights like Ilia Topuria. So what I want to do is be very fair to both guys. I want to give them their due and talk about how I see Ilia winning, and then we will discuss how I see Max Holloway winning. So let's hop into Topuria, man, because what we have seen from Ilia, you know, inside the UFC is basically just pure dominance. I mean, outside of getting dropped by a head kick against JakeGerber, this dude's spectacular, right? He's very patient. He's got that boxing-heavy style, a very boxers-based approach. What that means, he's very patient. He doesn't, you know, when you watch the Volkanovski fight, that is the perfect way to describe Ilia Topuria. The first round, everyone's like, oh, Volk looked great. He was dancing around him. He was having his way. And yes, he looked great. He was doing a very good job. But a lot of that was just Ilia Topuria being very, very patient. He invested in the calf kicks to take away the movement of Volkanovski, to make him a stationary target to where eventually he could back him up against the fence, close him down, and let his hands go and eventually get him out of there. That's exactly what you saw in the fight. And a lot of guys that have a boxing-based style, they fight like boxers. They're very patient. They're not coming out there like a bat out of hell. They slowly build their reads. They slowly start to apply that pressure and move forward. That's what you see with Ilia Topuria. But in a matchup with Max Holloway, this is a tough fight for Ilia because while Max, coming back to 45, it does scare me, for Holloway because he just went up to 55, put on some extra weight, did it the right way, goes up there and puts on a masterclass performance against Gaethje. Holloway's dripping with confidence. So he's coming into this, knowing like, wow, I just went in there and I KO'd the highlight in Justin Gaethje, who's like one of the boogeyman of the 155-pound division. He's got confidence. So Max is always a dude that fights with some swag, but he's coming in with, I think, a little extra sauce into this one against Ilia Topuria with a chip on his shoulder because he's being counted out once again. But I think Ilia's style matches up so well against Holloway because a lot of people are talking about, well, look, I sat up here and I told you guys, I was like, look, Holloway's going to beat Gaethje. He's faster, he's very technical, he's going to be patient, and he will frustrate Gaethje with speed. He will utilize his lateral movement that we have seen over his past couple fights to evolution in Holloway's style. It was going to be a nightmare for Gaethje. And I even said he was going to finish him, which I got kind of lucky because it happened in the last second of the fight. But outside of that, that style of Max Holloway, the guy that's not just waiting forward and just pressuring into range all the time, the guy that's now taking a backward step, moving laterally, utilizing footwork, he's very hard to track down. He's hard to hit. And Ilia, he's one of those dudes that he's not exactly the fastest guy, but when he lands, I mean, Max is going to be dodging nukes the whole time. That's exactly the way I describe this fight. Ilia's got the nukes, and then Holloway's over there. He's like a bee. It's like you're stepping in a hornet's nest. You just keep getting stung from different directions by different things, and you're like, get off me, man. Like, that's what it's like to fight Max Holloway. But what you've seen from Holloway is the willingness to sit on his shots and KO people. I sat up here and I said, guys, look, everyone has power, right? It's just a matter of, are you going to dig your feet in and sit on a shot? And we have seen Max Holloway do that in back-to-back fights against Zombie and now against Gaethje. But the evolution for Holloway started in the Arnold Allen fight. That's really where we saw it. And then in the Gaethje fight, you've seen it to perfection. But the narrative that I have a problem with is, well, he went in there and did that to Gaethje, so he's just going to go in there and do it to a guy like Ilia. Ilia, in my opinion, technically is way better than Justin Gaethje. He's a more complete fighter than Gaethje. He's way better defensively. And if you want me to be honest, I think he's just a better fighter. I think Justin Gaethje is he's the highlight. He's fun to watch. He's very entertaining, but he's not very, very responsible defensively. He doesn't have a particularly good ground game. He has decent wrestling defense, but outside of that, he's basically got some looping shots and, a leg kick. And if you can find the answers for that, you're going to have a lot of success against Gaethje. So if you have good timing and speed, you can frustrate him. We've seen Poirier do it. We've seen now Holloway do it. That is how you beat Justin Gaethje. We even saw Oliveira do it. Just kind of wear on him a little bit. But look, Ilia's defense is so damn good that the way that he's able to utilize the head movement, the way he's able to shoulder roll, the way he's able to block shots, and then when he gets to his combinations, he's one of the best punchers in the sport, man. The way he throws in combinations, it's usually a 3-punch combination. It's what will eventually get to you. He throws a right hand upstairs, left hook to the body, followed up with a right hook, and that's exactly what was able to KO Alexander Volkanovski. So if you're Max Holloway, you just got to be ready, man. You got to be prepared for that, because the thing about Ilia, he moves forward the entire time. He's a big guy for the weight class. He's short, but he's very stout. He's very powerful, and he has no problem moving and pressuring. That is the name of the game with Ilia Topuria, and he's no problem being patient. And I think one of the weapons that Ilia is going to utilize in this fight is that low calf kick. We saw him utilize it against Volkanovski. That was the unsung weapon of the fight, in my opinion. Everyone's talking about the right hook, the pressure, the boxing, but that calf kick was really the money shot for Ilia Topuria in that fight. The way he was able to hinder the movement of Volkanovski, had him switching stances. I think he really caught Volk off guard with that calf kick, because we were all thinking like Volkanovski, the speed, the leg kicks, Ilia is so bladed, that's going to be an issue. And really, it wasn't much of an issue at all. Ilia was checking kicks. He had the answer for everything against Volkanovski. And even though Volk was speedy, he looked fast, it just wasn't enough. And Volk has very good movement, and you've seen what he was able to do to Holloway. So when you watch that, it's just not very encouraging, with Holloway going in there. And the other thing that scares me is the weight cut of Holloway, right? Everyone talks about the chin of Max, but, going up to 55, putting on that, that size, coming back to 45 to take on, I believe, the hardest hitter in the division that the division's probably ever seen in Topuria, it just scares me. But I believe Ilia Topuria will utilize the calf kick, chop the base of Max Holloway to make him a neutral target, so then that way he can't move as much as what we've seen from Holloway, makes him stationary. Ilia will turn it into an in-close boxing match to where Ilia should be able to win that all day long because of the power, as long as he stays technically responsible, which he will. Sometimes he overswings, but if he stays responsible, if he attacks the base of Max Holloway and digs to the body, which I think is going to be the difference. Topuria is a very intelligent fighter. He likes to attack the body, that liver shot. He said he watches a lot of Canelo. When you watch the style, it's very similar. High guard, tucks the chin, hard to hit clean, and outside of that left high kick, Topuria is damn near impossible to hurt. So his defense, the way he throws in combinations and extends them to get to you, he's patient. He's got 5 rounds to work with because it's a title fight, obviously. This is a very, very scary fight. I've been saying it, guys. This is the most dangerous guy that Max Holloway has ever fought. He has the weight cut against him. He has, Holloway does. He has the weight cut working against him, coming back to 45. If this was at 55, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable in possibly picking Holloway here. Because, guys, I sat up here and told you, don't worry about Max in this Gaethje fight. Everyone's like, Gaethje's going to Tony Ferguson him. I'm here telling you. I could be very wrong. I'm telling you here right now, from what I have watched and what I have seen, if that head kick does not land, which I don't think it will, Max Holloway's in trouble. He's in trouble because Ilia will attack the body. He will constantly move forward, and I don't know what Max is going to be able to do to back up Ilia Topuria unless he's able to rock him with a shot that Ilia doesn't see. I see this being a nightmare for Max Holloway in terms of the power, and if Max does get hurt by some shots from Ilia has really good grappling, and he's got very good submissions in his back pocket that he can utilize while Max is trying to shake the cobwebs from being rocked. This is a very, very dangerous fight, but if Ilia is going to win, I don't know that he's able to put on some sort of Volk masterclass where he just picks apart Holloway for 5 rounds like what Volk did in the third fight, but Max, to me, looks slower at 45. He looks a little bit labored, and if he sits on a shot, he's going to have to pick his times wisely, because if he sits in there and gets hit by one of those Ilia Topuria right-handed missiles or a left hook to the body, I think the fight's going to be over. So the people that are banking on Holloway's chin and durability in this fight, this is not the 25 minutes where you want to be banking on a chin. I can assure you of that. This is the most dangerous fight that Max Holloway has had, but it's also a hard fight for Ilia Topuria. So if Topuria is going to win, I think it's going to be by KO. But let's talk about Max in this matchup here, guys, because look, Ilia Topuria, as good as he is, we have seen some vulnerabilities. We have seen, yes, against Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett's not as good as Max Holloway. Josh Emmett is dangerous in his own right because he does have pretty good wrestling. He has ridiculous power in that right hand. I mean, we saw that, time and time again. We saw it against Bryce Mitchell. I mean, if you get hit by that right-handed nuke, I mean, you're snoozing. Like, you're out bad. And so you got to be very careful. So to go in there for 5 rounds and absolutely decimate Josh Emmett, that's very impressive to me. That's very impressive because Ilia's style, again, styles make fights. Ilia can't just hang in the pocket as long with a guy like Emmett who has crazy power. So when you look at Holloway, he's a different fighter than Emmett, right? Because Emmett's got the crazy power, where Holloway, yes, we've seen some power, in his past 2 fights when he sits on things, but it's going to be harder for him to do that in this matchup because what we've seen from Max at 45 is different than what we saw against Justin Gaethje at 55. And I keep mentioning the weight cut, guys. It plays a huge role in this fight. It does. Look at Max when he fought against Arnold Allen, right? When Arnold Allen, who's a very nimble guy, he's got that good bouncing style. He has pretty decent boxing. He's not as good as Ilia Topuria with the boxing, and look how Arnold was landing on him. I think Arnold's probably a little quicker than Ilia, so fair play there. But when those shots were landing on Max, you could see he's not taking the shot the same at 45. He just isn't. And you even saw when Zombie was landing some shots, Max was not taking the damage the same way that he was at 145 pounds back in the day. And I know Max is still young and he's basically still in his prime, but he's a guy that's in his prime that has a lot of miles on him. It's kind of like Robert Whittaker, where Whittaker's still young, but he's been clipped with some good shots, and that damage adds up because these guys have been young in the sport for a while, like Holloway. So Max isn't your traditional 32-year-old guy in their prime. He's a dude that, he does have a lot of miles on him, and that concerns me with the weight cut back to 45, the power of Topuria, the aggressiveness, and the confidence of Topuria. I mean, this dude really believes it, man. He's taking a page out of the McGregor blueprint. He's getting people to like him, people to hate him, and he is backing up the talk, and what he did to Volk was very impressive. But what I think Holloway's going to do in this fight, because you keep hearing Holloway and his team, they're like, we have a blueprint here. We have a game plan. And I'm going to tell you what I think the game plan is. It's going to be exactly what you saw against Justin Gaethje. He's going to utilize lateral footwork, lateral movement. Don't be surprised when he switches stances to go southpaw in this matchup to just try to pepper Ilia Topuria, frustrate him, pick him apart, and utilize the jab. That is going to be Max Holloway's best weapon in this fight, is the jab. And what we've seen from Max is when he can get the jab going, he'll throw it to the body, he'll throw it to the head. He will then add, his offense off that. We see him hide head kicks behind it, kicks to the body. We saw that against Arnold Allen. But it's going to be harder to attack Ilia Topuria because of how good he is defensively, and he kind of crumbles in, and he's lower to, he's a shorter guy, and Holloway struggles with shorter fighters. It's hard to touch the body. It's hard to kind of, set up some of those combinations that Max likes because it's going to be hard to dig to the body. And when you watch Holloway, he's an avalanche, right? Outside of these one-shot KOs where Zombie's just recklessly chasing after him, or he's pointing at the canvas and him and Gaethje are just basically brawling it out, Max doesn't set up these nasty KO blows that are like one-shot stunners, right? We see him land some good shots that hurt you, and then he, tees you off up against the fence and just lets his hand go, and that's usually how he'll get a stoppage. So unless he's able to clip Ilia with a shot he doesn't see, I don't see him finishing Ilia. So the way he's going to win the fight is by strategic footwork, very good movement, and not staying in the pocket too long. Because if he does, man, you hear Ilia, he's like, point down at the canvas, man. Let's do that 10-second deal where we just stand there and trade it out. I mean, that is a nightmare for Max Holloway. It just is, because of the power of Topuria, the technicalities in which he throws his punches. It's very, very dangerous. But I'm telling you right now, if Max Holloway comes into this fight, he approaches it as a mixed martial arts contest where he's utilizing kicks, he's utilizing knees, because Topuria's low. He likes to come in. Holloway's going to use knees up the middle. He's going to use that spinning back kick you saw him use against Justin Gaethje. All of those weapons, if Holloway utilizes them in this fight, he can absolutely pick apart Ilia Topuria. And the way I see this fight going, guys, is it'll be kind of competitive, and then Topuria finds his shot and can get him out of there. Or we're probably going to just see Max Holloway do what Holloway does, and it's like when he's counted out, he just goes in there and makes you look foolish and just picks Ilia apart. It's very possible. It's very possible because of the arsenal of Holloway, the confidence, the evolution that he has made in his game. Because if this was the Holloway from back in the day where he's just moving forward into range and not really utilizing much footwork, I mean, I think that it could be a brutal KO against Ilia Topuria here where Holloway would get clipped with a hard shot. But the fact that he takes a backward step, he utilizes good lateral footwork, man, Holloway's a hard matchup now. He is a hard matchup, guys. He is. His footwork, the way he throws these kicks, like the way he mixes things up. He's got elbows. He's got the knees. Max is going to be, Max is digging into the toolbox for this fight. He's heading out to the shed. He's grabbing a wrench. He's grabbing a drill. He's grabbing a screwdriver. He has to do that in this fight against Ilia Topuria. You have got to make Ilia think, because if you don't do that, you're in for a long night. And what we've seen from Ilia is, in the Yusuf Zalal fight, if you can take him into some of those later rounds, you can make him work. But again, Holloway, he doesn't necessarily have the grappling to wear on Ilia in that way. But if you can see some vulnerabilities with Ilia as the fight goes along. So in those early rounds, it's going to be very, very important for Holloway to invest in the jab, bust up the nose, affect the breathing of Ilia, work the body, try to take some of the wind out of the sail. And if Holloway can do that, I absolutely see him finding a way to outstrike and outland Ilia Topuria to, a unanimous decision victory. Or maybe he catches him with a shot, because it seems like Holloway is just finding a way to knock people out these days. But the way Ilia fights, how responsible he is defensively, I don't know that we see a nasty KO shot from Holloway in this fight. And Ilia's ability to recover, you've seen him get basically knocked out with a head kick and somehow dive on a double leg, get guys down, and come back and win fights. So, both of these dudes are spectacular. They're both, two of the best guys in the world. Absolutely two of the best strikers, just pure strikers in the UFC. This is a spectacular matchup. I expect to see very, very high-level chess here. I think we see Topuria, try to utilize the calf kick, very good boxing, good defense, good head movement, and I think we see Holloway use a full mixed martial arts skill set with knees, elbows, a lot of that Muay Thai-based stuff that he likes to use in that stance. I think that Holloway definitely has a good shot if he mixes it up together to be able to get Ilia Topuria, or get a win here over Ilia. But man, I cannot wait for this fight, guys. I can't wait for this fight, man. But I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Let me know who you guys think is going to win. Like this video if you enjoyed, and please consider subscribing and turn on that notification bell so you do not miss an upload. I appreciate you all. See you next time.